I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, oh, oh, oh. Half worth on bills worth on rent. Oh, oh, oh. Half worth on bills worth on rent. I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, oh, oh, oh. Half worth on bills worth on rent. Oh, oh, oh. Half worth on bills worth on rent.
Good evening and welcome to another special episode of Between the Lines presented to you by Live Wire Sports. Tonight on the show, our guest is Miss Carty. Karen, how are you doing today?
I am well, Jack. How are you?
I'm good. Are you excited to be here?
Of course, definitely.
All right, so I would tell you that you are a certain number of guests, but I forgot we've been doing it for so long. Yeah, nice. It's so fun now. Like, it's so fun to have a new guest on every day to tell an interesting story that impacts the youth. It's great.
Yeah, definitely glad to be here. Thank you all for having me.
All right, I think we're in for a very good show. I know some stuff about you that will actually intrigue our guests, so let's get right into it.
Let's go.
All right, so where are you from, Karen, originally?
Originally from St. Croix, Frederick said specifically Hannah's Rest, so West Side girl all my life.
Now, what was it like for you growing up in St. Croix?
It was cool. Obviously didn't appreciate it as much as I needed to because, being from a place, you take everything for granted while you're there. The beach on the weekends, the good weather all the time. But I absolutely loved growing up in St. Croix. Have a lot of family there still. So loving when I get to go back and definitely, enjoy just the island.
Now, if there's one thing that COVID taught us is to not take anything for granted, including leaving the house to go outside. So definitely don't want to take anything for granted anymore in life. And
exactly,
living in the Virgin Islands, being from here is not something we should take for granted. It's a special place. It's a special atmosphere, and it's nothing like being from the Virgin Islands, honestly.
Yeah, people vacation where we live, so I keep that in, use that to keep that in perspective. That home is such a beautiful place, regardless of which island you're on, and I just really, really enjoy myself anytime I can get back now.
Definitely. So now we are a sports show, so we know you have something to do with sports here. What sports did you play growing up?
So in junior high, I played softball, and then transitioning to high school, I did volleyball, basketball, and then softball again.
Now, how did you have time to manage all these sports at the same time?
Time management is one of my top skills. I always did well at being, getting my homework done and out of the way. I always excelled at school, so school was easy for me. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing homework. But I don't know, we had less to do back then. So it was easy to just, play sports after school, go home, do your homework, and do it all again the next day.
Now, of those 3 or 4 sports, which sport was your favorite?
Favorite was probably basketball. It gave me the most exercise, even though I wasn't really great at it. I wasn't great at any of the sports. I was naturally athletic, so I could run all day and just run up and down the court and do all kinds of stuff. But it kept me most in shape, and all of my friends at the time were playing basketball, so it meant the most to me to play with them.
One thing I learned about sports, especially when you watch somebody like Tim Duncan, you do not have to be the most athletic or the best player on the court or best player in any sport to be successful. It's 90% mental. So everything that you do, once you think about it, visualize it, and then you apply the skill that you have, it works out for you in the long run.
Yeah, you gotta have the skills though, and I didn't have all the skills, and I didn't necessarily have the coaching or the training to help me get the skills. So I, just played with what I had, especially for basketball. The idea of dribble, take 2 steps, and then dribble again before the 3rd step It was a concept that just escaped me as a kid and kind of still does now. So the offense that they used to run based around me was get Karen to a specific spot on the court, make sure she's open, give her the ball, she shoots. So I was really good at 3-point shooting because, they know my talent wasn't really dribbling the ball. So I was really good on defense.
Catch and shoot. Let's go.
Right, catch and shoot, nice and easy. So I worked within the limitations that I had, and it worked out just a bit.
And honestly, that's a thing that a lot of athletes don't really get sometimes. Sometimes you just have to do your role to make the team successful, honestly. If it means that you have to take a back seat to another player or the team as a whole, you just have to do your part to make the team successful and do what's best for the team. That's what being a team player really is. So that definitely sounds like you have that aspect in your personality.
Yeah, I knew my role and I played it well. So
of those sports, you said basketball was your favorite. Which one were you the best at? You said one. I'm trying to figure out. You have to have one.
Right. I guess it would be basketball. So for volleyball, one of my best friends in high school, Michelle Williams, her and I were subs for each other and everything. Like, again, we didn't really went to St. Joseph High School and we didn't have the coaching resources that we needed. So we just were kind of out there doing what we wanted to do. So when we played volleyball, she was a really good defensive player. She would play the rotation, but I was much taller than her. I was maybe 5'8", 5'9" in high school. She was about 5'2". So I would serve. So she would play the rotation. She'd come out. I'd serve for her. She didn't play basketball, but for softball, again, she was really short and hit really well, real power hitter. And I would pinch run for her. So basketball was the only sport that I actually, played the entire time and did all that stuff. So I guess, I kind of was the best at that, but I also played tennis recreationally with my mom, and that ended up being really helpful later on in life.
Now, which was your first sport, the first sport you ever were introduced to?
Probably basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Now, were you able to compete on the junior high level on most of those teams as far as softball, basketball, and volleyball?
No, so I think it was just softball for junior high, but then all three in high school. And we didn't have a tennis team, else I probably would have played tennis and been decent at that in high school.
Now, how was your high school sports experience in the Virgin Islands? We don't usually get to play a lot of games, but how was the experience for you as a child?
It wasn't bad. I went to, like I said, St. Joseph High School, so we were a little more resource challenged than some of the public schools. So we still got to go to the tournaments in St. Thomas and we got to travel and play games, but it wasn't all that it probably could have been. I think we had a part-time coach for most of our sports who probably doubled as our PE teacher. So, he was busy doing other things and he couldn't really, fully coach us and instill the skills that we needed to be super successful. We did have a really good boys basketball team and all the resources went there. And, Cuffy and a couple other big names in Virgin Islands basketball played on those teams while I was in high school. So, we made the collective sacrifice for our boys team to kind of be the best out there.
There we go, being a team player again, love it. All right, did you have any outstanding awards in high school?
Oh, no. I was all academic. Again, I just ran up and down the court in the field because I could, but my focus was definitely on academics. I was a salutatorian graduating high school, so everything, all the accolades were academic ones.
No, I didn't ask you about accolades for sports. So that right there is great, okay? So historian of your high school class, that is a great accomplishment. We are going to highlight that award as something that is very special here on live. You're probably the first person that mentioned that, so we definitely going to give you a props for mentioning that.
Hey.
Now, I'm guessing that you went on to college to play sports. Which sport did you go on to college and play?
So I ended up being on the tennis team as a senior, but actually we didn't have a basketball team my senior year in high school. And that's when I was going to get serious about it. And I'm going to play basketball for somebody's college. We didn't have a team. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I ain't going to never get these skills developed. So focused on academics, ended up going to the Norfolk State University and played tennis my senior year.
All right, so welcome back to the MIAC here with Norfolk State. Are you guys still in the MIAC right now, or are they leaving as well as the other teams?
Still in the MIAC right now. Having some hey Avena, having some conversations. But in for right now.
All right, that's perfectly fine. Now, how was your tennis season as a senior joining the team? What was it like competing at that level?
So I actually haphazardly got into tennis at Norfolk State. I did an internship with the tennis coach in between my junior and senior year, and he wanted me to work for him as a senior, and I couldn't because I was a resident assistant, so I couldn't get the work study money and all this other stuff. So he was like, "Man, it's a shame, I can't. You don't play tennis, and I can't put you on scholarship." And I was like, "I could play." And he was like, "Can you really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we had just wrapped up recruiting and everything for the upcoming year. So he had everybody that he needed, but we still went out and hit. And he was like, "Oh, you can actually like really play." And I was like, "Yeah." So he put me on scholarship, and I didn't have to play because we had a full team already. But I played in like one or two matches, did okay, did all the weight training and went to all the meetings and stuff. So I had the almost the full experience, but I didn't have to play a whole lot. But it was amazing. It was the best year of my collegiate experience.
Now, how did your learning as a youth playing tennis help you at that point where you were a senior on a Division 1 tennis team?
I mean that's where it started. So if it wasn't for my mom, just kind of keeping tennis rackets in the house all the time and us going out to play recreationally as a kid, like I wouldn't have been able to play. One of my college friends said I was the greatest. I wasn't. He's out here just being supportive. But had she not played tennis herself and then encouraged me to do it, I wouldn't have picked it up and I would have missed out on that opportunity.
Now, I just want to let people know how difficult of a sport tennis is. I played baseball most of my life, so hitting a ball is nothing for me. So the first time I hit the ball, definitely went over the first fence, went over the second fence, went way out to the park, right? That wasn't a great experience. I learned that it's power and control.
Right.
And then you have to run and hit the ball at the same time, and now somebody hitting the ball at you, and it's very difficult, guys. So tennis, definitely respect for people for playing, actually.
Which is why I don't play anymore, because everything you said right there, it takes a lot of movement, a lot of energy. You got to chase the ball down. The same friend that commented, we were traveling to see the VI national basketball team in the Bahamas a couple years ago, and we had some time. So he was like, "Yo, teach me to play tennis." So we went and got the rackets and the balls and everything, and we're out there and I'm teaching him. So, teaching him how to volley back and forth. And then he's super competitive. So now he's really trying to play. And I'm like, "Look, I'm too old for all of this. I'm not, if you hit it and it's not like, doesn't come right to me, I'm not going after it." Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a high intensity sport. I have a really good serve, so I was able to get by on that for several matches. Because serve it really well, they can't return it. You get the point. So and then you don't have to run around. So relied heavily on my serve quite a bit.
All right, so let's get into a little bit of the academics, Miss Salutatorian. Now, you attended Norfolk State University. What degree field did you enter?
Studied business marketing while I was there.
Wow. And you graduated with, that's a BS?
Somebody. Yeah. Let's go with that one.
Now, what was the adjustment like for you as far as class size, going to a smaller school like St. Joseph and then going to a school like Norfolk State?
So I strategically picked the colleges that I applied to. I wanted to go somewhere that had a small student to teacher ratio because of coming from St. Joseph. I think at the time, Norfolk State was maybe between 12 and 17 students to one teacher. So that was good enough for me. That was kind of what I was accustomed to and ended up kind of being right on that track. So the transition academically wasn't too hard. And then one of the other things that I looked at schools that had good business programs, but that were easy to succeed in. Like, because, we had a couple people in class that went to like MIT and Brown and all these Ivy League schools, and then they struggled and had like really tough transitions. So I went to a school that was a little easier. And the academic transition was okay. I was able to, had good time management skills. I had just good academic habits. So I was able to transition pretty easily.
All right, now going to a HBCU is something that a lot of people are very proud of. It's a different culture, a different atmosphere, a different environment altogether. What was the HBCU experience like for you while you attended Norfolk State University?
Collectively, like over the 4 years, it was just amazing. We had a really big contingent of Caribbean students there, several from the Virgin Islands, several from other islands as well. So I had a clique of people who looked like me, who sounded like me, who understood, everything that I was dealing with. So that was amazing. And then outside of that, everybody else looked like me. So I didn't have to struggle to fit in. If I wasn't speaking and you didn't know where I was from, it's like, hey, this regular Black girl walking down the street. Whereas, the students who go to PWIs, they experience all kinds of different things and don't necessarily fit in. So collectively, the experience was amazing. I would not trade any of it for the world. It was the best thing I could have done.
I think just going to an HBCU just teaches you so much as an African American person, especially the history. Not knowing that we weren't allowed to go to any other schools besides HBCUs, I think it's a reward on their investment for us who are African Americans now and others who would like to participate in our culture to attend at HBCU, to learn more of the history, embrace what happened before, and be prepared to change the future as well. So it's definitely a powerful thing to go to a HBCU.
Absolutely, especially because we weren't allowed to go to other schools, before those. So just based on that, I'll always support HBCUs.
Definitely. Now, what was one of the most positive impacts that you received by going to college altogether?
So just being able to meet people and having those people that I met in college, like with me 20 years later, just the people that you meet in college, some of them literally stay with you for the rest of your life. So they were able to encourage me and be friends and just was able to, grow with the people that I met. So that was definitely one of the most impactful things. It's always people for me.
Now, college is a very, very difficult, a difficult situation for someone who is 17, 18, 19 years old. They're trying to find themselves. They're somewhat on their own. You're no longer in the blanket of your parents. You're an adult.
Yes.
Was there any time that you had struggles during the college experience, and how did you overcome those struggles?
Certain semesters were tougher than others. I did a couple semesters of 18 hours, and surprisingly, every time I did 18 hours, I had a 4.0. So those definitely weren't easy, though. And there were a few times, I wanted to kind of quit and give up, but knowing that the goal was to win, and by win, it was graduating in 4 years, I knew that quitting wouldn't get me to my end goal. So, if it was just taking a break, calling up some of my Caribbean friends that lived off campus and say, hey, what y'all cooking today? Trying to come over and eat. Yeah. Or, going to the mall or just doing something to kind of temporarily get my mind off of the things that were stressing me and then refocusing to continue. Like I knew that giving up was never an option. Had a really good support system back at home. My mom and dad, literally would talk to them every day. So they would encourage me. I had a great group of friends who, we'd work through issues together. So definitely had a really good support system in going through the process. And that helped me to kind of stay on track.
All right. So we discussed your undergraduate degree. Did you go to graduate school in any form after you finished?
Yes. Yeah. So I attended the United States Sports Academy and got a master's in sports management.
Wow. All right. So we got an undergraduate degree and we have a graduate school degree. Now, how did that help you on your search for a job after college?
Well, the United States Sports Academy is the only sports-specific university in the entire nation. So when people saw that degree, they were like, oh, well, she knows a thing or two about sports. And it also helped that I did the master's while I was working in athletics. So I was getting the practical experience and the theoretical experience and being able to kind of mesh everything together. So, people see the advanced degree, they see the experience, and it all definitely helps to get jobs in advance.
All right. So what point did you realize that you could have a career in sports while not playing anymore?
So that summer that I worked with the tennis coach, working with him, I was literally his assistant for whatever he needed. So I did inventory, I went to meetings with him for him, helped him with recruiting, and did all this other stuff. And in going through all those things, I would see the other administrators in the department and realize that there were people who made these games run, who made the department run, that weren't coaches and obviously weren't players. And then is when it opened up my eyes, and I was like, oh, I could legitimately like work in sports. I don't have to be a coach. I don't have to be playing anything. I don't have to be a professional player. And that summer, so summer after my junior year, is when I started looking into grad school to go and get the sports degree. And the whole idea of working in sports became like a reality.
And I think that's a very big thing for athletes. It's hard to get away from sports when you love it, but there's thousands of careers in sports that you can fall back on if you don't make it professionally. So that's definitely something we want to put out there to our student athletes that are watching our show, as well as the parents who are guiding them. There's always an option B, all right? So you should always have a plan B, and that plan B could be to work in sports. You're still around it every day of your life. You still get to experience it. You just won't be able to play it no more. You can play recreationally though. That always works.
Right, you can play at lunchtime.
Right. All right, so let's jump into your career. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is your current career?
So currently, I am the Assistant Athletics Director for Marketing, Fan Engagement, and Diversity Initiatives at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois.
All right, that was really long. All right, is there a shortcut there?
Marketing Director.
All right. Now, how did you get this opportunity?
So this specific opportunity came, our AD here, Dr. Chris Reynolds, was very adamant. Bradley is a predominantly white institution. He was very adamant about having an experienced Black woman filling this role. So he searched high and far and near and found me all the way down in Louisiana. Couple phone calls, 2 interviews, and a year later, here I am.
Now, how long have you been working at this institution or in this field?
So overall, 16 years total in athletics, and then a year and about a half at Bradley.
Wow. So this is not something that you're really new to. You really ingrained into this right now.
Yeah, this is what I've done for almost 20 years. Oh my goodness.
Now, are you thinking about that retirement date, or are you just still in love with the job so much that it's to the back of your mind?
Almost 20 years in, you start to think about what's next. And I've been able and I've been blessed to kind of transition from, like, I started from the bottom on my elite podcast interview. Shout out to those guys. Pang, who's basically family, like he knew where I started from, and he mentioned it, and I didn't think about it until he said it. Like I started out as a sports journalist in sports information, where I would record stories and do stats and, sometimes film the teams and do all this stuff. And I've literally worked my way up. So now I'm one of the assistant ADs. I've seen what it looks like at the top. So, just trying to figure out what will be next and then what retirement looks like. So I'm almost over the hill.
Now, what made you choose this particular profession? I'm assuming that you're very good with numbers because you have a business degree, correct?
Okay, enough with numbers. I can get by.
Profession.
So I ended up kind of haphazardly getting into sports. So I work with the tennis coach. And before I graduated, I went and spoke to our assistant AD for external affairs. So the guy who handled fundraising and marketing and media and all that stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm graduating in a couple weeks. I need a job when I come back. I'm traveling for the summer. And when I come back in the fall, like I need something to do. And he was like, okay. And he gave me his card and he was like, just call me when you're almost back and we'll figure something out. So I called him and he was like, yeah, come work in my office for a while. And I ended up helping him with fundraising for like a month. And then he was like, go talk to the guy in sports information, which was the media office. And it ended up being a job interview. And they hired me as a part-time statistician to do stats and media. So I don't want to say it fell in my lap, but I asked for it and I got it. Got the opportunity, worked hard, and like I said, worked 16 years doing all kinds of things, traveling all over the world, and here I am. And the marketing portion haphazardly fell in my lap. Was working at South Carolina State. They had budget cuts. They let go of the marketing director. They found out I had a marketing degree, and they were like, "Hey, come, you can do this." And then I did it really well, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna make you the marketing director. This is gonna be your job from now." So that was about 5 or 6 years ago, and still doing marketing.
I love how another HBCU tied into your success again, South Carolina State. So again, here we go pushing HBCUs because we just seen excellent stuff come out of these situations, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we're actually going to take a very short commercial break right now. We'll be right back with more with Karen Carty and Between the Lines presented to you by Livewire Sports.
I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, whoa, whoa, effort, I'm built for pioneering. Whoa, whoa, effort, I'm built for pioneering.
And we are back with more Between the Lines presented to you by Livewire Sports. Karen, are you still here with us?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper into your career and find out what more we can find out about your brilliant brain that you have right here. Now, what is your role as the assistant director?
So it's literally in the title. My job is to assist the athletics director in the specific area that I'm in charge of. So marketing, fan engagement, and most recently, diversity initiatives. I am responsible for marketing for 3 of our 6 women's sports and fan engagement before COVID, when we could have people in buildings. It was my job to get them in, make them enjoy themselves, and have them come back. And then now that with all the social unrest going on in the world, I've been given the additional responsibilities of working on diversity initiatives for our student athletes.
And that's a great thing that that your university chose to adjust to what's going on and make more opportunities available for um, different races altogether. So that's definitely a positive for your university, and they do deserve a round of applause for that. All right, what, can you tell us your day-to-day responsibilities? Like, what is a normal day like for Karen Carty?
So let's say, we have a game coming up on the weekend. I would spend that day in preparation for it, making sure that our social media graphics are done. So I do design. Thankfully, I don't have to do a whole lot of design anymore. But I design graphics for social media, invite groups to our games, make sure that all the promotions and activities are planned for the game. So basically anything that you see or hear at a game that's not the actual game itself is what I'm responsible for. So anything that you see on the video board, any presentations done on the court or field, anything that's physically not the players playing is what I'm responsible for. I'm also responsible for making sure our fans enjoy themselves. So making sure the concession stands are open, our bathrooms and other facilities are functional and everything is nice and clean. And just getting all of those things done. So it's always busy, it's always hectic, but once fans come and enjoy themselves, it's all worth it.
Now, would you always be in busy like that? Do you even get time to enjoy the games at times?
No, I don't get to see games that I work because my life happens during the timeouts. So when the game is going on, I'm focusing on what's coming up next, preparing people to do presentations or whatever, or preparing for what's coming next on the video board. So I rarely ever get to see, like, take in the game. I'm right there front and center, but I don't get to see it.
So you basically have a schedule of what's going to happen 2 timeouts from now.
Yes, the entire game. So usually about an hour and a half before the game till the end of the game, every single thing is scripted and prepared in advance.
Now, a lot of our viewers might not have known that. I'm aware of it, but I wanted you to clarify that part because, like we said, there's a lot that goes into a football game. It's more than the game. It's about advertising the university, your sponsors who are paying the university. So it's a lot going on there that you are responsible for.
Right. And especially, I'm glad you mentioned sponsors. They are basically the ones who run my life at a game because, they give us money and in return, we have to give them things. And some of those things may have them, have their name be attached to a presentation or giving them a check to recognize the money that they've donated to us. So just whatever. And it's, very important that we get those things done and we get them done right. So I spend a lot of time trying to make our sponsors happy.
All right, can you talk to us about any recent success with your college programs that you have there at Bradley?
So before COVID, that's how we start all sentences now. Our men's basketball team won the conference championship. Obviously, didn't get to go to the NCAA because there was no tournament. Our men's cross country also won a conference title and a couple other teams as well. But the year before I got here, so 2018-19. Everybody had our winning record. We won like 5 or 6 different conference championships. So definitely doing great things here at Bradley and just really good to witness it all.
Now, COVID is something that we hate to talk about, but it's the biggest thing happening right now. How did COVID affect your season, your job, your life at this point?
Well, March 12th was the day that everything shut down in terms of sports. And that was the day our women's basketball tournament was supposed to start. So our girls were, I think they finished third in the conference, but they were poised to win the tournament. So they were heartbroken, absolutely just devastated that they didn't even get to go because their tournament was a week after our men's tournament. So obviously none of our spring sports got to play. We been shut down since. We had our first event this past weekend. We had our scrimmages, basketball scrimmages. They went well. It was good to see live sports again, but of course, everything was super weird. There were no crowd, no fans in the stands, no crowd. Just literally the people working the game were allowed in the building, so we're limited to about 100 people. And it was weird. We played artificial crowd noise and It's just a new way of the world now. So COVID came in and changed everything in the sports world, but we're adapting and we're adjusting, and we should be fine.
Now, is the artificial crowd noise a part of your department as well?
Yes. So because now I have no fans to cater to, my catering goes to the student athletes and the few people who are in the building. So I'm now the glorified DJ. I play the music and I control the crowd noise. So when somebody makes a basket, and the crowd noise goes up and the crowd cheers, that's me.
Right, right. Now, do you anticipate anytime soon where fans will be allowed at Bradley home games?
Probably not. I definitely not for basketball season. The state actually just put out restrictions today that go into effect on Friday that reduce the number of people for indoor events, period. We're at 50 right now, down to 25 for sporting events. So at least for this basketball season, we probably will not have people in the stands. But we have cardboard cutouts. So,
And that's
gotta raise money somehow.
is that a part of your department as well? Cardboard cutouts?
Yes. Yeah. So we're responsible for revenue generation as well. So we're selling cardboard cutouts to our fans. So basically, for $75, they can upload a picture to this website and they get a cardboard cutout that we will put in a seat for them at the game.
Wow, that's amazing. COVID has made people really think outside the box.
Mhm.
I would have never thought of somebody paying $75 to be a cardboard cutout. But it's
Right.
interesting because you're now seen in the crowd when the game is going on.
Right. Like you will literally be in the building or a version of you will be in the building. So definitely made everybody like the box doesn't even exist anymore. We're living so far outside of it.
Really and truly, if you ever thought about being in two places at once, now you can.
Right.
All right, I know that you are in charge of marketing and advertising and stuff like that, but can you share some of the things that would make a student athlete ineligible in collegiate sports?
So first thing, and it always goes back to grades. Like if your grades aren't right, yeah, you're not gonna play. Like, and we focus on the student part of student athlete. You're a student first. You need to go to class. You need to do your work. You need to stay on track academically because if your academics not right, you're not playing. And it's no other way to say it. It's no clearer way to say it. Like you gotta stay on top of your grades, else you will be ineligible. Another way that gets people in trouble is accepting impermissible benefits. So, and that ranges widely of what that can be. But like, say for instance, I see one of our student athletes walking somewhere at night. Like, I cannot give that person a ride just because they're a student athlete. That would be an impermissible benefit. Taking money from people, boosters, any of that stuff, using your athletic exposure to get things is absolutely illegal. So don't do it and just don't do it.
Now, that's an eye opener to a lot of Virgin Islanders because our community is so small that we do these things often without even second guessing it. We just care about our children and our community like that we do it. So that's definitely an eye opener for some of our student athletes who are listening that may need to know that before they go on to play collegiate sports and how that could deter their collegiate career. So
Right.
that's definitely something that I thought was important that you needed to get out just now.
Yes, definitely is. There's so many things that can get you in trouble that seem, like you said, normal because we do them and they're absolutely impermissible and will get you in big time trouble.
Now, what are some of the tips you can give student athletes, especially right now with COVID going on, that can help them to be recruited? Here in the Virgin Islands, we're not necessarily playing sports right now. We do have a little program that was set up to try to help some students get onto college, but for the most part, nobody's playing sports right now. So what recruiting tips can you give to those student athletes?
So I tell them to get some friends or whoever together, maybe even their coaches, in a safe manner and do some highlights. Do show them working out because self promotion is one of the ways to go now. People can't come to games; they're not going to see you in public playing anywhere. But you could go out in the backyard and you could hit a baseball. You could play catch with somebody. You could shoot hoops. You could record yourself. You could put that out there, put it on social media. Tag coaches or send it to coaches or whoever. So there are a few things they can do. But one of the things that I would suggest is getting an early start on the clearinghouse and reading up on the schools that you really want to go to. Since we got time now, we're inside, can't go outside. You know, figuring out what needs to be done, you know, prepping for the SAT and all those tests, you know, they're probably not taking them yet, but because, you know, scheduling and all that stuff, but getting ready so that when things do open up, you'd be, you know, ahead of the game. A lot of reading is required, a lot of understanding. So if you start looking at these things earlier, it'll kind of help you navigate through them when it's time to go.
Definitely, definitely. Now, does being a dual sport athlete allow you advantage in the recruiting process?
From the aspect that cross training might help you be stronger or more dedicated or more focused, because typically you don't see dual sport athletes in college, but you know, if let's say you're a soccer player but you also play basketball, like your conditioning is going to be top notch if you're a soccer player. So the basketball coaches will say, hey, you know, okay, this person played soccer, they can run for days. So it helps in certain aspects of the overall athlete and what coaches look for. But I know coaches usually don't specifically recruit people to be dual sport athletes in college.
Now, at what point do you think those student athletes who play 2, 3, 4 sports should focus in on a sport?
I would say probably by at least sophomore year in high school, so that you can have at least 2 years of film and footage and, you know, potential recruiting. Some people might say earlier, but, you know, I know how we do at home and we play everything and we just do it all. So at least by, you know, heading into your junior year, you should pick a focus and kind of stick with it so you can have 2 strong years in that sport.
Now, I'm sure you're not doing most of the recruiting process, but what does your school look for in a student athlete when they want to bring them onto their campus to compete for your athletic teams?
So grades, first off, Bradley is a private school, so they have to have grades. I think they just relaxed some of their admission requirements because they were requiring at least a 3.0 GPA on the sliding scale with your test scores. But I think they moved that back to like a 2.5 now. But we look for grades, so do well in school. Try to do well on those standardized tests. I know they're kind of archaic and people don't test well and they aren't necessarily a true reflection of your intelligence, but it's what they use. So, you know, figure the system out, work the system. And then obviously athletic ability. Like we want kids that's going to come and win, you know, that, you know, can do whatever it is we need them to do and do that thing well. But what's most important is we look for those student athletes. They have to have the right character because, you know, you could be good in school and you could be good on the court or the field. But if you're a person out there causing problems or you got a bad attitude or you're just not doing what the coach, you're not coachable, then, you know, you could be the best athlete in the world and they're not going to take you. So it's definitely those 3 things: academics, athletics, and then personal character.
Now, that word that you mentioned, being coachable, that's a love language for a college coach, because we want you to be coachable. If you're not coachable, then everything else kind of goes out the window, because eventually that athletic ability that you have, it won't reach to the potential it needs to, because you're no longer able to be given instruction that can help you to reach to your potential. So being coachable is definitely an important trait that kids need to have going into all sports, not even only college, high school, little league. Being coachable is key to your success in sports.
Right. I know one of the things, you know, we deal with in the islands is, you know, we're the best and, you know, we come up being the big fish in the teeny tiny pond and we think we know everything and, you know, oh, well, you ain't got to teach me this. I know this, whatever, whatnot. That's the absolute wrong attitude to have. Like, there's always something you can learn. There's always something new to pick up. So always remain coachable. Literally, no matter how much you know, no matter how much experience you have, there's always something you can learn that'll make you better.
Definitely, definitely. Now, have you come across any VI students yet at Bradley?
I have not. I haven't. Yeah. None that are current students. One of the members of the Elite Podcast group, he said his brother attended Bradley back in the 80s, but I haven't met anybody who's currently here yet.
All right, here we go. We're getting some recruiting done for Bradley right now. Can you tell us where your university is located?
It is in Peoria, Illinois, which is about 3 hours south of Chicago.
All right, so we're giving fair warning. We are advertising Bradley University. However, it is really cold up there, so bring your winter coat. Put on 2 or 3 layers, get your hats going, but we can get you to Illinois.
I mean, if you want to come where it's cold, hey, we're here.
So what is some of the biggest adjustments you have seen student athletes have to make coming from the high school level to competing at the collegiate level?
So, and you referred to it earlier, they're adults now and they have to do everything on their own. Mommy and daddy and grandma and all the rest of them not there physically with you. So you gotta figure out how to just navigate this entire new world on your own. You're away from home. Everything, is probably new. You gotta go to weights, you gotta go to practice, you gotta go to class, you gotta make sure you eat. I'm really big in fueling and proper nutrition, and I just love to eat. So I always made sure I ate. But you got to make time for homework, study hall, time to be social because you're in college and this is literally the best 4 or 5 years of your life. So you got to make time for fun, but you got to make sure you stay on top of all of these things. And because high school was so structured and you got up at 6 and you were at school by 7:15 and you got the bus and you did and just so much structure. College isn't that. It's as structured, but you have to kind of figure it out on your own. So I've seen several student athletes kind of struggle that first year, first semester in adjusting to kind of having to be in control of their entire life and kind of navigating it successfully.
Definitely. It's a big task for them, but it helps you along the line, that understanding of how it is to be on your own and not have to depend on anybody. It's different. However, I'm pretty sure parents and staff at the school you're able to lean on them, but it gives you that sense of individuality. So I'm sure everyone goes through that process where it's like, I want to go home. I'm not sure what to do. Somebody help me. But
right.
They get through it. They get through it.
Yep.
All right, so you have survived our interview portion of our show. So now we're going to get into the interactive section where I get to be really, really not nice sometimes. It's okay. It comes from the heart. All right? A game that calls this or that. I'm going to give you an option, and you can either choose this option or that option.
Okay. Sometimes
I'm going to agree. Other times, I'm not going to agree. You might want to kick you off the show. Whatever. But you've done it already, so we're good.
Nice.
Right, so let's go. You ready to start?
Yes.
All right. So this or that. Coconut or guava tart?
Wow. Out the gate. That's what we're going with? Coconut. Coconut. It's fine. I don't care who feels differently.
Now, where does pineapple fit in that equation?
It doesn't. It's coconut or bust.
Whoa. I mentioned kicking you off the show, but I didn't mean like the first question out the gate.
You asked the hard question.
Ever created? Wow.
I mean, I don't ever think I had pineapple tart.
Wow. Whoa.
Coconut or bust.
All right, so we need to get you some pineapple tart sent up there to Illinois.
Let's go.
Double wrap it because it might get freeze up on the way up there. Who knows? All right, dancing or singing?
Definitely dancing.
So you're not a singer?
I mean, I sing when there's nobody else around, so that doesn't count. So I don't sing.
So we all sound good in the shower, so I understand what you mean by that. And only in the shower sometimes.
Maybe the car, but definitely shower.
You know when you get that help from the other singer who's actually singing a song, it makes you sound
right. I'm back up.
You turn it off and it's like, okay, well maybe I really can't sing. So
exactly.
Johnny cake or pate?
Pate.
Why pate?
Because it's like a Johnny cake, but it has stuff in the middle, so you get more.
Great answer. This question right here is very personal to my heart.
Okay.
You want regular Johnny cakes like I have over there, or you want Gucci Link Johnny cakes? You're thinking too long. It shouldn't be this hard.
I just need a Johnny cake. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, both.
Appearance is everything. We're going with this Gucci Link Johnny cake any day. All right, this one here is kind of tied to your university. So let's see where we go with this.
Okay.
Nike or Adidas?
Under Armour.
See, I knew it. I had
But in real life, in non-work life, Nike.
Okay, there we go. Now I had a said that looks like an Under Armour jacket, but
Yeah.
anyways. But we got the answer. We picked Nike over Adidas. That's all we need. That's all.
Checks over stripes.
Definitely. Passion fruit or sorrel?
Passion fruit.
Hey, you working pretty good with me here. Really? All right. Uno or spades?
Uno, I can't play spades.
I can't either. Uno is just like a real personal thing. Like Uno, they get new rules every week. The people who make Uno don't know how to play Uno. It has a new Uno game out right now that has like drastically different rules than we're used to, and I'm just like, these are real rules. Like, how are you changing the rules for a game that was made
Right.
50,
Years
60?
ago.
But Uno is definitely a personal thing. It's a family gathering event.
That's
Now,
why you play with house rules. The real rules don't matter.
whatever house you come into, you gotta play with those rules.
Exactly.
All right, bungee jumping or skydiving?
Probably skydiving.
Why?
More free? The more thrill. I mean, the potential to die is greater, so it's definitely more thrilling.
I'll be on the floor or be on the top of the bridge when you get back up, and I will greet you, but I'm not going to be on either of those things.
Cool.
All right. Losing your memory or not being able to create new ones?
Losing my memory.
Losing your memory. Why would you choose that option?
Because I would have already lived and enjoyed those things. So, live it, let it go, create new memories. Let's go.
All right. I take that. And now the most important question of all. Horse or Haas?
I gotta go with my St. Croix people. We say Haas.
Somebody needs to show me what a Haas is in the dictionary. I don't believe it. Because I have countless times and I do not know what a Haas is. We're going to be nice to our Crucian friends and say that we're going to give them Haas today and forever, because I would never let a word go.
Right. And I say horse in public, but I understand what Haas is and I respect it.
Definitely. How embrace are you for being bold enough to say the word Haas and try to tell me it's a four-legged animal?
We gotta stick to our guns.
Definitely. All right, so we're finished with our interactive game there, but we have a little bit more fun for you.
Okay.
For the viewers and myself than you, but you would like it too. That's perfectly fine. So we have pictures here. Some pictures, some old, some relevant, some from maybe. But we have some pictures here that we want you to talk about and tell us what was happening at the moment, or what does this picture mean to you?
Gotcha. All right.
Are you ready for this?
No, but let's go.
All right, so let me get these pictures loaded up right now for you. Let's see right here. We're having some technical difficulties right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Actually, we'll go ahead and come back. Oh, there we go. There we go.
All right, so that picture is probably in 2014. I was working at the MEAC basketball tournament in Norfolk, Virginia. I did contract work with the stats crew, so I was hired to be a statistician for the entire tournament. One of the fun parts of going to the tournament was getting dressed up, and part of the table crew, the guy you see in the referee shirt in the back, him and his referee table friends people always loved my shoes, so I would wear shoes and we talk about them every day. So that's what the smile on his face is, looking at my shoes. Definitely an awesome picture.
And what year was this?
2014, I believe.
Yeah, I was just saying to you, it looks like a very up-to-date picture, very colorful. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's see what we have coming up next.
Oh my God. So this is another year at the MEAC tournament, if I'm not mistaken. This one is several years ago. My hair is much shorter, so maybe 2008 or 9. We were in Raleigh or Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Those two beautiful ladies, the one in the middle, I think she was working at Howard, I think at that time. And the one on the right was working at Hampton University, the other school in Virginia that don't really matter. But beautiful Black women working in sports information, changing the world one smile at a time.
Now here we go. Another HBCU mentioned Howard University. Hey, we just winning.
Oh yeah,
the thing. It's the in thing to do.
all day.
All right, let's move on to the next one. See what else we have here for you. All right, it's not popping up right now. All right, so let's see if it will pop up right now, and if not, we'll have to move on to our next segment until we can come back to that. All right, so we'll do that. So we're gonna actually open up our Facebook Live to the viewers who would like to ask any questions. I'm sure you're gonna get some questions that are going to be asked.
Oh, so people be kind to me.
Oh, there we go. The picture is actually loading right now, so we're back to the picture. We'll get back to that. But you guys can put any.
Come on, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah. I need back, please.
I don't know how old I was here. Clearly a child. I wasn't the Girl Scouts. I don't remember what you call this level of Girl Scout, but I did it. I sold the cookies. I did the whole shebang. Didn't really do well at the camping and outdoor stuff, but I did well at the social skills stuff. Yeah, little Karen, she was a Girl Scout.
All right, so I need to know these exact dates or when is Girl Scout cookie season, because I'm tired of looking for them and they disappear.
So it's like February to April-ish, I think. But here's game. Oh no, you're at home. Walmart has like the generic version of all the Girl Scout cookies.
We don't want it generic. We want it straight from the Girl Scouts.
But they can get you your fix during the year when you can't get the Girl Scout cookie. So you get them, I think it's February to like April. And then, from May to March, you eat the generics.
Right. So okay, we'll keep that in mind, definitely. Let's move on into the next picture.
Oh my God. Oh God. So this is me and one of my favorite cousins ever, Deshaun Lake. He's from St. Thomas, so you may have heard of him before. He played professional baseball for quite a few years. He was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in, don't get me to line, one of those years. Played in the Yankees organization for several years. And this picture specifically, he played independent ball for, I think, two years. I was in Detroit for a convention. I was a chaperone for some students from Grambling, another HBCU. And he had a game, and I ended up being able to leave our convention early, our seminars that day, drive out to wherever he was, saw his game, and this was us after the game hanging out.
So this is an interesting picture to me. Deshaun is actually my Little League baseball teammate. And we knew from Little League that he was going places, definitely. I used to catch when he used to pitch. And it wasn't the funniest thing ever. He actually taught me my first call ball at the age of 11, 12. So definitely that was Little League teammates that I always remember.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite cousins ever.
All right. So let's move on to the next picture. Ooh,
okay, so this was at Norfolk State University. I'm going to go with 2009. I was a presenter for that award. If I'm not mistaken, I think that award was the Female Athlete of the Year. That girl is Nicole Kessner. I think she played volleyball. So she won it that year for whatever reason. Guess she had a good year.
And there we go. Norfolk State again in the background. Big and broad. Let's go where we are. Move on to the next one.
Oh, one of my favorite people ever who's been on the show before, Dr. Christine Kelly. This was me and Christine at a CIAA tournament. I want to say at St. Aug's or one of the CIAA schools. But again, I did a lot of freelance statistics work for a couple schools in the area. And I got to see Christine so much when I was doing that, man. So every time we linked up, it was take a picture because that's what we do.
I just want you to know your Norfolk State alumni are going crazy in the comments right now.
Shout out to NSU.
All right, let's move on to the next picture.
Oh, this one's hilarious. So I worked at Baltimore City Community College from 2010 to 2013. It's another HBCU. It's a 2-year school. It's a JUCO, but still a HBCU in Baltimore. And this was like Panther Pride Day. We were the Panthers, obviously the Black Panther next to me, but or it was something day where we had students versus staff, and I played basketball, and it was a terrible idea. So I had the jersey on. We had a whole bunch of people in the gym, and we had a good time. And I stopped to take a picture with the mascot.
Now, what I really want to know is when you did the students against the staff, did you guys win?
Of course, because we had a whole bunch of former athletes on the teams.
Sometimes you have to just let the little children know that you were good at sports at one point because they think you're too old to play and
Right.
and you're too slow, and you just have to let them really know that, hey, I played this before you were born. So,
Right, and we outsmarted them every chance we get because they were faster and they were better, but we were smarter, so we won.
let's move on to the next picture.
Oh, this is hilarious. So this is actually a picture that I have in my office. Every year there's a convention of all the athletic administrators and sports information and academic people. And obviously we didn't have it this past year because of COVID, but we get like 10,000 people in at one convention center and we go and have fun. And every year the Champion magazine, so Champion is the NCAA's magazine that they send out. I think it's quarterly. And they have a photographer there from Champion magazine, and they like make these fake covers for you. So they got all kind of sports props, and they had a basketball. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna take it with the basketball because it's the easiest thing to do. So I like immediately pick up the basketball and actually palm it. Like this picture is 100% real. It's a men's ball. I am palming the ball, and everybody was like, "Is that for real?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could do it." And they were like, so this big guy, I don't know who he was or where he was from, but he was like 6'8", and he comes and he like tried. He was like, "Nah, this ball's flat. You can't be doing this." And he couldn't palm the ball, and I'm like, "Get your palm game up, bro. What are you doing?" So people think it is fake because it just looks so perfect, but it is absolutely real. It's one of my favorite pictures.
Now, this is something you can't pass up. It looks like a real magazine. I thought you were really famous.
No, so it was completely fake, completely made up.
All right, let's move on to the next picture.
All right, another MEAC championship tournament. This was in maybe 2015 or 2016. I was working at South Carolina State then, hanging with some awesome guys in the MEAC. The guy right next to me worked at Morgan State. The next two were at Delaware State. Made some really good relationships with the media people for the different MEAC universities. So this was us kind of hanging out at one of the tournaments.
So a big shout out to Morgan State as well as Delaware State. Two more HBCUs that are showing here in our show today.
Absolutely.
Let's move on.
So one of the perks of working in sports, you get to meet famous people. Mike Epps came to a Norfolk State football game. This had to be maybe in 2008 or 9. Again, the length of the hair kind of tells you how far back stuff was. But Mike Epps, I don't even know why he was there, but I think he may have had a show in the city that weekend or something. But he came to the game. He was hanging out in the press box with us, took pictures with everybody, told jokes, kind of hung out. And it definitely was an amazing experience.
Now, what is he like in real life?
As funny as he is on TV. Like the same. You see, just as silly, just as funny, super sweet, really nice. But he was in joke mode when he was in there with us. So it was absolutely hilarious.
I'm thinking we have one more picture after this. Let's see.
So this one was actually last year. So summer 2019. I was selected to go to an NCAA leadership training for up and coming ADs. And these 4 people were in my awesome group. So the young lady on the left, she was at Florida Atlantic at that point. She's currently at Chicago State. Guy in the black suit, he actually works at North Carolina A&T, does development there for them, fundraising and marketing. And then the guy next to me, he works at UNC Charlotte. Yes, UNCC. And we were in a group. We did a case study and presented well. I think we finished second out of like 4 or 5 groups. But we're actually at the NCAA headquarters for 3 days doing, these research projects and learning things and just having a good old time.
No, this is a very great picture with some important people. I definitely want to give a large and very proud shout out to the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University.
Oh, you Aggies, it's fine. Hey, A&T.
All right, so you actually survived our picture portion. You didn't do pretty bad. My favorite, definitely the Girl Scout picture. Favorite. Of course. You might have to see that live via archives forever. Oh, there we go. Right back up.
Come on, put it away.
We're gonna open up our viewer questions from our Facebook Live, and they're gonna ask you some questions that have been burning in for this whole show. All right. Okay. So the first question from Mr. Mumba Rivera, definitely a familiar name here with Livewire and the Elite Podcast. What is your least and most favorite part of your job?
Oh, Mumba would ask hard questions. Hey, Mumba. Least favorite. I don't know. Least favorite. The hours that we work, man. We put in a lot of time. And so definitely least favorite. The amount of time that we have to work, because all the different cities that I've ever lived in, like I've never been able to fully explore a city and really like get to the heart of it while I live there because we work too much. Think about it. Sports happen recreationally. So that's nights and weekends. So all my nights and weekends are shot. Sometimes you work 20, 30 days straight, no days off. So that's the least favorite part. When it gets like super busy, crossover season, when you got multiple sports going on, definitely not a fan of that. But the favorite part, the traveling. I love to travel. I don't travel as much now, but before I was always gone, seeing different places, getting to see different arenas, seeing how other teams did their game production, and then taking some things back with me. So definitely the traveling.
Definitely. Very great answer.
Thank you.
A question here from Gabriel Hodge. What made you choose this profession?
Hey, Gabby. Being able to have a job that wasn't like a real job, or it wasn't as serious as like, before I figured out that it was going to be sports, I was like, I'm gonna go work for a Fortune 500 company and, wear suits every day and be like super serious. And then I realized you could wear like sweats and sneakers to work every day, and you could do fun things and, have a serious job, but just enjoy it. And once I realized that was an option, oh man, it was no turning back.
All right, so we have another question from Mumba here. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years in your profession?
Hopefully being Dr. Karen Carty. So that should be loading soon, coming soon. But probably more out of the day-to-day. So not necessarily working games. I don't know that I want to be an AD. But I could definitely see myself going higher in athletic administration and probably even teaching. I had some really good professors in college, and I wouldn't mind going back to Norfolk State or even coming to UVI and doing some sports management and sports marketing classes. So higher athletic administration and then probably being a professor.
All right. We have one final question from Mr. Lester Harvey. On the cost of the cutoff per game or for season. Let me see. Let me see if we can get Lester to reword that question.
Yeah.
So Lester, go ahead and send that question one more time, and we'll get back to that question before tonight.
Cool.
So we're gonna move on to just giving a shout out to any organization that you have been a part of that have helped you along the way, or any people that have helped you along the way to your success in your career.
So definitely want to shout out HBCUs everywhere because, they made us the people who we are, and they continue to raise successful people. Look, our vice president-elect went to a HBCU. So literally you could go to a HBCU and do anything you want to in life. So I've been blessed and fortunate to work at, I think, 4 different HBCUs: Norfolk State, Baltimore City Community College, South Carolina State, and Grambling. So shout out to all the people at those places, especially my old AD, Dr. Paul Bryant, who is currently the AD at Edward Waters College in Jacksonville, Florida. He gave me a lot of opportunities, taught me a lot, let me listen in to a lot of his conversations and just be a part of his life. And then, my current AD, Dr. Chris Reynolds, he calls me his AD in training. So he gives me a lot of opportunities, runs me through a lot of scenarios and just lets me be an active part of his, AD life. So just them and anybody who's helped in the journey, man. Shout out to all those people.
All right, so we do have that question edited here.
Okay.
From Dr. Harvey. The question is, are the cost of the cutouts for the people per game or for the season?
For the season. So when you pay the $75 for one or $125 for two, you get to be in the building all season.
Oh man, I would love that. Definitely would love that. All right, we have another question. This question seems like it might get you in trouble with some friends. The question is about George. Who was your favorite VI athlete in NSU?
That's a setup. He wants me to say him. He's from St. Thomas. He played baseball. Shout out to Mariba. Oh yeah, no, you ain't gonna get me with that one. I had 2 favorites. Yeah, it was 2 of them. Mariba George and Abena Farrell. Abena played volleyball. Abena was from St. Thomas as well. They were best friends and I always had a rivalry. You're not gonna get me caught up in that. Both are my favorite. By
default, you won, but it's a tie, so you didn't get it. All right. Would you be interested in doing a community event here in the Virginians back home just to give back to your community?
Absolutely. Christina and I talk about this all the time. And whenever we're home, we talk to as many kids as, we can get to listen to us. So I have coaches, I have administrators, I have a whole bunch of friends who all they need for me to say is, hey, let's go. We're doing this thing. Let's put together this clinic, this informational session, whatever, and they will be down. So I will, if I get the opportunity, I'm coming.
All right, Karen, you did a very great job here on Between the Lines. We want to thank you for coming on. But before you go, can you give one last message to student athletes that may be feeling like it's not worth it or they feel like giving up in this moment, something that can push them over the hump to keep them moving towards athletic career?
Keep going. Don't stop, because if you stop, you'll never know how far you can get. So stay focused, work hard, be coachable, take a break if you have to. Sometimes you need to step back and recalibrate and set yourself back up, but please don't ever give up, because there's always tomorrow and you can get there if you just keep going.
All right. So once again, Karen, we want to thank you for coming on. You did a fantastic job. You brought a lot of information here to our viewers, and we are definitely proud of you and what you are doing in sports right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shaq, for having me. I had an amazing time.
All right, Live Wire fans, we'll be right here again next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. with another special guest for Between the Lines. Before we go, we want to thank some of our sponsors, including Leo Sibley, who has done our introduction track, which is called Born Ready. It is on all streaming platforms. You can go there, download it, and support him as well. Our visual coordinator, Mr. Shane O'Neill, our executive producer, Ms. Lorena Robinson. We are also sponsored by Sweet Surrender VI, Dreamland Clothing, and Coach J at Fabtabulous Nutrition. Also, we want to mention our extremely great introduction video, which was done by Brilliant Designs. So any designs or anything you need, please head over to Brilliant Designs and check out our video as we leave. Thank you guys for tuning in again, and we will see you guys next week, Tuesday.
I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, oh, 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 oh. Yeah, Effort and build for pan ready. Oh, oh, oh. Effort and build for pan ready.